If you've been watching my videos lately, you know that I've been talking a lot more about music grants and how to secure funding for your music. But a common question that people ask me is, should I actually learn how to apply to a grant on my own, or should I hire a grant writer and get them to do it for me? In today's video, I'm going to answer that question and show you whether or not you should hire a grant writer for your music. Are you an artist, producer, engineer, or music professional that's looking for funding for your music career? Could you benefit from having funding for studio time, mixing and mastering, or even marketing costs? I think I have something for you. I've written a free ebook. It's 9 pages, super short and digestible, where I break down the 6 main places that artists and professionals like yourself can find funding for their musical projects. If this sounds like it's of value to you, please click the link below and you can download this for free today and benefit from this knowledge. I hope this helps. I'll see you guys soon. Peace. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is your boy 5-Piece producer and engineer extraordinaire. Thank you for checking out this channel, and if you haven't already, please hit the bell and the subscribe button below to stay tuned for more helpful videos. I cover a lot of topics in my videos, ranging from music grants and funding, all the way to more technical stuff like production and engineering, so definitely hit the bell and the subscribe button so you can check out more videos in the near future. Now, in today's video, I'm going to answer the question of, should I hire a grant writer? And really what I want to do is I want to focus on a couple of key considerations that you should think about when approaching this question. Let's start with number 1. Consideration number 1, you have to pay them upfront plus on the back end potentially. Grant writers work on a retainer basis. This means you have to pay them money up front in order to actually write and apply for the grant on your behalf. Grants are very time consuming. You have to create support materials, you have to write the proposal, you have to make sure you create a good story that ties into the grant and makes your project look very fundable. And all of this stuff requires a lot of time, energy, and effort on the grant writer's part. So it makes sense for them to want to get paid in order to do that for you. Now, some grant writers work on a combination of upfront money plus back-end commission. This means that if they win a grant, a percentage of those grant winnings will also go to that grant writer. Now, that'll actually eat into what you will be receiving as the recipient. So if a grant writer is working on a, let's say, $500 upfront fee plus a 15% of the winnings basis, they're going to get that $500 up front guaranteed, and if they secure you the funding, they're going to take 15% of whatever you get. So if you get $10,000, they're going to take $1,500, and now you're going to have only $8,500 to play with. So these are really important things to think about when you're considering hiring a grant writer. This leads me to consideration number 2, which is they can't guarantee that they'll win you a grant. Grant writers cannot guarantee whether or not they're going to win you funding. Now, of course, a grant writer is much more experienced than most people. They've written a lot of grants, hopefully, and they've won a lot of grants. But at the same time, they're still up against the competition of a certain funding program. So, for example, at any given time, hundreds to thousands of applicants could be applying to the same program as you. And even though a grant writer may have more experience with formulating a winning application, depending on the competition that season, they may not be able to actually win you funding. This is totally out of their hands. They have to play with the variables that you give them, which is your career, your accolades, and of course the music that you're providing, which they'll be using in the submission process. So once again, they cannot guarantee that they'll be able to win you funding just by working with them. And that sucks because you might potentially pay them $500, $1,000, or a couple thousand up front to write this grant, and they won't even win it for you. And in that case, you're just going to be totally out of the upfront money that you paid, which I mentioned in point number 1. Consideration number 3 is that working with a grant writer is going to keep you dependent on their services. Now, a grant writer, if they are able to win you money, they're going to make sure that you're going to always need to go back to them, because if you've never learned how to apply to a grant before, if you don't understand the process or any of the things that you have to do, you always are going to look to them to win you funding. Now, this could be okay depending on where you are in your career, but at the same time, you're not going to be self-sufficient. And what happens if one day you don't have the budget to hire a grant writer? If you can't hire them, then they can't get you more money. You can see how this starts becoming this vicious cycle. So you want to make sure that you are not dependent on a grant writer services. In fact, I recommend learning how to apply to a grant and doing it yourself, because you can constantly turn this into more and more money. Like, for example, myself, I've never hired a grant writer. I constantly applied and learned the process and figured out a winning system and strategy to winning these grants. And as a result, I've won tens of thousands of dollars in grant funding strictly by learning on my own, and of course doing it 100% for free, just by investing a little bit of sweat equity, aka effort, on my end. So what's the verdict? You're probably wondering, so should I hire a grant writer or not? These considerations are cool, but I don't really know if I should actually hire one. This is how I look at it. If you're an independent artist that's just starting off, you should probably not hire a grant writer. Instead, you should learn how to apply on your own so you can be self-sustained, you can be self-efficient, and you can do this repeatedly for years to come as you learn. And if you are interested in that, I'm gonna have a special proposal for you by the end of this video. Now, when should you actually hire a grant writer? I think you should hire a grant writer if you're a more established artist that's really focused on their music, that's already making money and generating a lot of amazing things from the music, and that really doesn't have the time to invest in learning how to apply on their own. You probably are touring or always in the studio and constantly writing music and all that, doing appearances, so you're not really gonna have as much time to be able to sit down and learn how to write this grant. So it makes more sense to hire somebody, especially because you're probably gonna have more going for you and you're gonna have more money to actually invest into that expense. Now, if you're part of that first group of artists that I was talking about, the ones that are a bit earlier in their career that are not as established, and you wanna learn how to apply to a music grant on your own, you should definitely check out the online course that I've created called How to Apply to Canadian Music Grants. This is a very in-depth course that I've put together through years of trial and error, and of course after winning tens of thousands of dollars in grant funding for myself. Now, this is stuff you're not gonna find anywhere else, and it's a step-by-step program that shows you how to apply, and not only apply, but win music grants. Now, if you follow this program step by step, it's gonna get you to write and complete a grant application. So as you work through each lesson, you're gonna get an action item at the end that's gonna get you one step closer to finalizing and submitting your own fundable grant application. If you sign up for this program, you can hit the link below. If you sign up, you're gonna be in a great position to apply to and win grant funding for yourself, and of course for your music, which you can then spend on studio time, on music videos, on marketing, on touring, on all kinds of expenses that you're probably gonna spend money on anyway. So would you rather pay for it yourself, or would you rather get a grant to do that for you? I'm gonna let you decide, but if you want, you can hit the link below and learn more about it today. But if you got value out of this video, please like, subscribe, and share once again. Share it with somebody you know, somebody who's thinking about hiring a grant writer or maybe debating this question in their head. And I'm super excited to help you again in the near future on another video. I'll see you soon. Peace out.
5.